Well, welcome to Introspective Gamer. Today is Monday, March 27th. At least I hope that's correct. Let me see. Yeah. So today we're going to be doing something a little different, at least for this first segment. I'm going to go ahead and record the first segment using my phone. I've always wanted to try recording on my phone because sometimes I want to do impromptu interviews with either friends or family just about certain topics that pop in my head. But I'm always nervous that the quality is not going to be good. Probably isn't going to be as good as the mic. And right now I'm here at the park with my son. So while he's playing, I'm going to see if I can squeeze out an episode. And I will just begin. Anyway, the first topic is going to be about Power Rangers. I went to go see it, and it's pretty tough because I think I saw it on like Saturday. And I've kind of just been hyped the whole time, telling people at work, telling family, telling friends that they really need to see this movie because I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. Like, I wouldn't call myself a mega fan of Power Rangers. I caught casually as a kid growing up. I did go to see the Power Rangers movie, the original one, in theaters when they meet the ooze guy. I forgot his name. And I really liked that one. But, I mean, I wouldn't call myself a fan. I just took my family to see it because I was interested in it and I figured my son might like it. And I think I liked it way more than my son, Shinga, because he was watching it and he thought it was fun. But, I think he just liked it as a good action movie. I liked it because as I was watching it, there's a turning point in the movie. And you know it when you know it. And I don't want to spoil too much because I really want people to see this movie. But the one thing I will spoil is that basically the point in the movie that's a turning point is when they finally get into Ranger mode and they get their Zords. The fucking Zords run across the screen just like the intro to the TV show, and they play the original 90s theme song with the Go Go Power Ranger. Like, it's the exact same song, just recut and inserted into this scene, and it works really well. And from that point on, it turns into a big old TV episode of the Power Rangers, included with cheesy acting and all that good stuff. And I don't know, I just really liked it. Sorry if I sound out of breath. I'm pacing back and forth while I record because I am near a playground and there are children around. As shitty as it sounds, we live in a world where you can't be walking and talking with your phone like this, otherwise people think the worst of you. And so I'm just trying to keep moving. And so if I seem out of breath, it's because I'm out of shape and I'm jumping and hopping around on different stones around the park. But anyway, I can't recommend this movie enough. If you're a fan, like, basically that's what it was. There were these super fans in the theater, and there were certain things like when Alpha 5 says I and different things that they would like clap and they would cheer for. And in the beginning I was like, yeah, what losers, you know. like totally being judgmental. But by the end of it, they were clapping at certain scenes and the post-credit scene that even me and my wife, or at least me anyway, inside my heart of hearts, I was like, oh my god, like, yes, that's super exciting. I'm totally on board with these assholes over here. But it's because like I said, it just made me and my wife feel like children. And it wasn't until after I got out of the theater that I was talking to her that I realized she felt the same way, and that it's just really good. And it's tough to. I keep saying how we felt like children because there's a warmth that took over our hearts that was just like, man, like, this is too good. Like, this totally isn't good. Like, if you're just a regular moviegoer, you're probably like, man, this shit sucks or it's cheesy. But seeing as like we were seeing it. So just to reiterate, because I know that was a hard cut, and it's because my son asked me a question, and now I'm off track. But yeah, I mean, if you were a fan of the series as a child, I highly recommend you see it. If you were a fan of any of the Power Ranger series, whether it was like the Ninja Force or the Galaxy Force or whatever iterations they have, I think you should see this movie. If you're a casual fan that's like, what the fuck is this about? I don't know if you really want to see it, but it's something I think you should give it a shot, maybe when it comes to Redbox or Netflix. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end this segment here, and you will get some of that delicious transition music that I haven't used for a couple of weeks. I've been making some short episodes. But I can promise you, between this and the next couple of topics, this one might be a long episode. But alright, everybody, thank you for listening, and I will see you on the other side. Alright, everybody, welcome to the second segment, and today is Tuesday, March 28th, and first of all, I just want to address that prior segment. I'm sorry if, so I heard the whole thing again, and I want to address a couple of things. Number one, sorry for the background noise, but I did mention it in the recording. And number two, this movie is not the second coming, all right? Like, I think it's just like I'm saying, the hype was just really overwhelming. It's really hard to explain. I mean, I really can't explain. Maybe if some of you have like a certain like weird ass aftershave smell of a dead grandpa or perfume of a dead grandma, or there's just like something that triggers a memory from your childhood, and there's like a feeling of elation of like, damn, like I remember that, and it gets you like a real warm feeling. Again, it depends on whether it's a sad or positive thing. This movie was basically a visual and audio trigger to those kind of memories. But I don't want anybody to think that I think this movie is like gonna set the world on fire. Like I also say, I mean, it is a bad movie. Like subjective, I mean everything's subjective. But I think, and from an objective sense, on plot and storytelling mechanics and all these other things, it is not a good movie. I mean, it is a kid's movie at the end of the day. You know, it's not the Dark Knight ching out. I mean, like, it's Power Rangers. It's about teenagers dressing up in outfits and beating the shit out of aliens, basically. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of backtrack and cover myself there because I I didn't realize how excited I sounded. But I think it's also because I was nervous. And so, like I said, I was pacing. So again, I want to cover that too. I mentioned the way I'm holding the phone, and basically I'm holding the phone like a lot of people kind of hold their phone when they're on speakerphone, but not as weird. I think it's weird when people talk on speakerphone and they're like yelling into their phone at the bottom and putting it up to their ear. It's like, just fucking hold it to your face like a regular phone and talk. I don't understand the need for speakerphone. But anyway, it was kind of like that, but I was holding it more sturdy, like if I was holding a microphone. And so, if you know what I'm talking about, then you know it also kind of looks like I'm trying to record something with my video phone, or the camera on my the camera on my phone. And that's what I mean when I say I can't be walking around like that at a public park like that. But I also, like I said, I was pacing around in other areas, and so I was really nervous. So I think that's also why I might have sounded super excited. But we're back in house. I was gonna say in studio, but I ain't got no studio. But alrighty, so after that, the Power Rangers, throw them in your backseat, alright? We're done with that topic for now. And the next one I wanted to say was I partook in the Splatoon 2 Testfire that was over the weekend. It was the 24th through the 26th at different time slots, 1 hour time slots. And I just want to say, like, my impressions basically were that I'm on board and I can't wait for the game to come out. And I was a big fan of Splatoon 1 on Wii U. If you have not played this game, I really cannot stress enough how much you need to play this game. Like, obviously, everyone's going to have their own personal taste. It's just, the few people I've mentioned it to, they kind of throw it in my face that it looks like a kiddie game, or it looks stupid, it's too cartoony. Really weird-ass, like, stupid judgment calls of why you wouldn't want to play a game. You could kind of say the same thing about like Overwatch and its cartoony graphics and just the exaggerated movements that all the characters have. But from what I hear, it's a really good game, and I've never played it, but I don't see a reason why I wouldn't play it. I just haven't had the opportunity or the desire to play it. But I'm not gonna be like, fucking Overwatch is overhyped, you know, like maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. I have not played it, but I just want to put it out there that if you have not played it, this game is super accessible. And I think that these motion control aiming options are what the future of FPSs on consoles need to be, even though a lot of people seem to hate them as well. So I get that. But anyway, I'm going to get off that soapbox and just continue with the topic of my impressions. And basically, it was more of the same. But I don't see that as a bad thing. I kind of want to address that too. I feel like there's a lot of people on the forum saying this looks just like Splatoon 1.5. And they're really bashing sequels and stuff like that. And I kind of don't understand what the problem is, because that's inherently what a sequel is. It's something that takes the original's formula and builds upon it. And this thing, I mean, they removed all the past specials of that last game and have reworked some of the gun mechanics and have a new single-player story campaign. They're introducing new, oh my gosh, what are they called? Like grenades and stuff like that, like side weapons. I can't remember. Secondary weapons, we'll call them for now. They're introducing a lot of new mechanics that make it feel fresh enough, you know. And I don't understand why people are like, it's just more of the same. And it's like, that's exactly what a sequel is. But I think it also has to do with the inherent reality of sequels becoming unnecessary in this new modern age. What I mean by that is, yeah, I mean, even right now, the perfect example is what's happening with Destiny right now, or what was happening with Destiny. So Bungie just announced Destiny 2. Don't worry, I'm still on Splatoon as the topic. I just kind of want to give context for this sequel argument. So they announced Destiny 2, and they also announced, prior to announcing Destiny 2, that none of your progress from Part 1 was going to carry over. So that got some people pissed. Some people are like, sure, I get it. You need to rework the whole engine. But I think at the end of the day, the reason people are getting pissed, and the reason I'm talking about how sequels are becoming less of a thing, is because people are building platforms. Or at least I think people should be building platforms instead of actual game-by-game basis. So like Overwatch, I think is a pretty decent example of that, where they no, not Overwatch. Let's just stick with Destiny for now. So Destiny 1 was this like shooter RPG type of mechanic, or shooter MOBA. There's different terms that I'm not too familiar with because I don't play a lot of PC games and stuff like that. But it basically was an RPG kind of game that had a lot of loot and guns, and you would go on raids and get better loot or gear and weapons, and it was a rinse and repeat cycle. And so that game was fun. You had a lot of progress. You probably have a lot of cool guns and armor and shit like that. But now in Destiny 2 coming, none of that matters. And so it's like, oh shit, what was the point of all that? And they're going to give you some incentives, like, I guess, log to your Xbox Live or PS4 account. That, you know, hey, we recognize you own Part 1, here's some good stuff based on your level, blah, blah, blah. But the reason that's frustrating is because it's like, why couldn't you fucking leave a good enough backdoor in the infrastructure of Destiny where you could have just built Destiny 2 using the same Destiny 1 engine and just like made a platform, you know, forget Destiny 1 and 2, just call it Destiny, and you give us new missions, new raids, new maps, new guns, new weapons. And it's just basically like World of Warcraft, where you get expansion packs and stuff, but the fundamental game is the same, but your progress will carry over because they're using a similar engine, or it's connected to the original map of WoW in the first place. Like I think that makes my point good enough, but I want to go ahead and go another step further and look at the Smash Brothers tactic, or Smash Brothers for Wii U and 3DS. That game came out. I'm going to shoot out fake numbers just for estimates, but it should give you enough context. That game came out and it had like 36, 40 characters. And over time, they announced new stages, new characters, new costumes for your Miis. And I think now we're sitting at like 60 characters, maybe 60 and change, like 62 or something. And like 5 or 10 more stages that were added through DLC. But Smash Bros is a good example of a platform. Again, it only lasted through Wii U, but in theory, if the Wii U succeeded and lived a long life, like up to 10, 15 years, that's exaggerated. Let's just say 7 years. I don't know why I went that high. But let's say the Wii U lasted for 7 years and the Wii U died, I think, in 2. That means these next 4 years, Nintendo could have just kept building on that and adding people to the roster, adding stages, even changing certain mechanics like how fighting games do when they're trying to balance the characters, until by the end of the Wii U's life cycle, we would have had a totally different game. And that is what we had. It's just the reason Smash isn't that great of an example is because of the small market size that the Wii U audience is. Even though the Smash fan base is large, it's not very large relative to like the larger gaming scene of PC, Xbox, and Sony. And so it's one of those things where, like I'm saying, Destiny, I think, had a better chance of doing something like that. But I digress for now. Let me go ahead and head back onto Splatoon and how, yes, it was more of the same, but they changed enough to where I thought it was a pretty good Testfire. And for all transparency, I only played about 1.5. I played one at home on the internet, and I played on handheld mode and on TV and tabletop mode in the first hour. And then in the second hour, I took it to work, and I used my phone as a mobile hotspot, and I played on tabletop mode with the Joy-Con grip. And in all ways that I was playing it, it was great. I mean, I was really fascinated when I was playing it with the Joy-Con separated, one in each hand, because I didn't know that the right Joy-Con controls movement by itself. I thought that both kind of worked in tandem to keep track of movement, but no, it's just the right one. And I didn't play too long like that. I was really fascinated, but my competitive side took over, and I was like, you know what? I'll look at that later when it comes out in June or whatever, and let me just focus on winning. And so I just kind of put it in the Joy-Con grip and kept playing like that. But yeah, I mean, it worked. Even my mobile hotspot, I thought that was gonna like lag, but it's either not sending a lot of data packets or it's sending just the right amount to work on 4G, which 4G is fairly fast, or LTE. Yeah, whatever. That stuff's fairly fast. Obviously, it's not like 100 megabytes per second or megabits per second, but it's fast enough, obviously, to game. And I didn't use too much of my data, so that was good too. I kind of had a list of all the weapons and how they changed them up, but I don't think I'm going to run through all of them. I might just kind of, let me see, the splatter shot. Okay, the splatter shot had those missiles, I think they were called the Tentatech missiles that shoot in the air. And those were really neat because you basically get a large reticule on your screen, a big circle, and if you highlight where an enemy is in a matter, like right when you highlight them, you see a circle of where they're at, and within 1 second, an X gets marked on them, and you just fire whenever you're ready. You can try to catch all four of the opposite teammates. You can try to catch all four of the opposing team in your reticule, or you can get one or two targets. No matter how many targets you get, you launch it, he fires them basically in the air, and they basically volley onto the other side, and they're homing missiles. The downside is that when you're the one who's getting targeted, notice once they fire, you know the missiles are coming at you. So it kind of gives you plenty of time to move out of the way and dodge the attack. I was targeted and I never got hit by them. They're kind of slow, but they do work in a sense that if somebody's like camping, you launch them there, the camper has to move, maybe you circle around and you come from the back. It makes people move, and that's something that's good. So you can use it like in a corridor to get them out of the corridor, use it in a dead end to funnel them into it or out of it. Again, there's strategy on how to use this thing. The roller, they kept mentioning how now when you jump in the air and splat, instead of doing the horizontal splat, it does a vertical one. I actually like that one. I never played with the roller in the prior one because to me it was a really slow weapon. I like using the ink brushes more. But the roller in this one, they really changed it in a good way, I think. Because with the vertical splat now, kind of like with the charger, you can make it's better to make a trail. Because me, I like to, with my guns, I always like to spray a little, to leave it, make a trail, and then swim, spray a little, swim. And that's kind of how I navigate through the map. But with the roller, the reason that was an issue is because you really didn't have that vertical, or you couldn't really make a trail for you. You had to splat or roll, which I understand works like when you're trying to cover ground, but it doesn't work in terms of maneuverability. It leaves you open. And yeah, I mean, I was always splatting those rollers all the time, and that's why I didn't like it, because it was slow. But I feel like the vertical, it's not even a big change, but it's big enough that I feel like that weapon is more mobile. And of course, its special was really cool. It's like this weird, I don't know what you call it when you upgrade to like Super Saiyan and you make a shockwave around you. But like these guys jump in the air, slam on the ground, and make an explosion of ink, and anything caught within the radius, or any person caught in the radius, they're done for. And I did that one like once or twice. It felt really good, and it covered a lot of area with ink. The next one, the dualies were good. I feel like I didn't spend a lot of time with them. But what I did spend a lot of time with was the curling bomb. Or it's not the curling, it's its secondary weapon. And it's basically a bomb that you throw on the floor, and just like a curling puck, it'll bounce off the walls. And again, this one I feel like is good for reaction. It doesn't, I don't know. But to my knowledge, it doesn't explode when it hits the characters. It explodes when it reaches its end of charge cycle. So you can bake the grenade. So you can bake the grenade before you toss it, and the longer you hold it, the shorter it travels, but it also explodes sooner. So if you just tap the button, they're gonna shoot that curling bomb down on the ground, and it'll bounce for a long time. And again, strategy. I could go over some strategies. I'm not gonna bore you with that, but just know that that was really good, and the special was good with the jetpack and stuff. But it was a little hard to shoot because I think I wanted it to be like leave a trail of ink under it, kind of like the, oh man, I can't remember the names, but there's these. I wanted to leave a trail of ink under it, like some of the blasters do in the original, but it doesn't. Whatever you aim at, that's what it hits. And so instead of trying to aim above people or under people, you really have to know what you're aiming at, and in order for it to be effective. And then the chargers, I'm not going to talk about those because those are basically the sniper rifles, and I suck at sniper. I don't have the patience for sniper rifles in most games, and especially not in this damn game. Even with the tweaking of how you can save your charge while you swim in the ink, I thought that would help me, but I'm just too twitchy of a player that when I pop out, I try to shoot people, and I always just shoot to the side of them, and that just leaves me open, and I die. But yeah, I mean... So that's that. The Splatoon Testfire, it was really good. If you liked part 1, you're going to love this one. And if you've never played it before, I really think now's a good time to get into it. I played with Joy-Con and Joy-Con grip. And I actually don't see myself buying a Pro Controller. But if you think that those are too small or not good enough for you, then I would recommend getting a Pro Controller. But keep in mind that both are expensive propositions. The only upside is your system comes with the Joy-Con grip. Unless you wanted a second controller, then you would need 2 Joy-Con and a grip, which is $100. The Joy-Con pair is $80 plus a $20 grip, or you can just get a Pro Controller for $70. But when you get the Pro Controller, you cannot detach them for 4-player action, potential 4-player action, in like Kart or Smash or whatever have you. But yeah, on to the next topic. And let me see. You know what? I just have one more topic, really. And like I said, it looks like I've been going for a while, but I don't know how long it's been. But I'm going to go ahead and take a break real quick so I can use more of that transition music. I think I'm going to try to use more transition music because again, this is a long episode, but maybe, yeah, for my short ones. I digress. I'm a rambler, guys. Sorry about that, but you should know this. Alrighty, well, I will see you guys on the other side for topic number 3. See you soon. What's going on, everybody? This is the third and final segment of the week, and I tell you what, after the day I've had today, I'm glad it's the end of the week, and who knows what the weekend will bring. But today is Friday, the 31st of March. Tomorrow's April Fool's Day. I'm not down for that stuff. That's a different topic. If a podcast ever lines up with why I don't like April Fool's Day, I'll go into it. But right now, I'm not going to. But basically, the third topic was... It's actually resolved itself, but I haven't had my Switch for like a week because I keep this on the hush hush, guys. But I spilled water on it, and one of the remotes was acting up, and so I sent it in, but told Nintendo I didn't know what happened, and right now I was just informed that they're sending it back in the mail, and so they obviously fixed it and are sending it back. So 2 things could have happened. Because even a couple of days after the fact, I called, right when it happened, the water spilled on it, and it started, one of the Joy-Con wasn't syncing correctly. So I called Nintendo and told them what was up. And I didn't tell them I spilled water. I just said, yeah, I don't know what's going on. And they go, okay, we'll take care of it. But a couple of days later, I was trying to show a coworker, hey, look at how messed up it is. And I was showing him, and it actually was working. It was synchronizing. And I was like, oh, maybe it fixed itself. But then it still kept breaking. And this was already 3 or 4 days after the fact. Because I was going to ship it on Monday. Because it wasn't going to get picked up on the weekend anyway. And so I ended up... basically, 2 things could have happened. They could have gotten it. And by then the water has dried. And there you go. There's no problem. Send the shit back to the kid. Or they got it and... they fixed it. Now, again, the fixing it is good because it's free and they didn't bother asking questions or charging me money. The problem comes with some stories I've seen where they're kind of just get a new system and not caring about transferring any save data. And so I might have lost my 35 hours of Zelda and my 6 hours of Shovel Knight and my 2 hours of Fast RMX and my 3 hours of Snipper Clips, which again, altogether isn't too bad. But I don't know if you heard my wife, but she was mumbling, "Who cares?" I care, Corgi. But this isn't all bad because what I have other games, but most notably, I've kind of been neglecting my 3DS ever since I got the Switch. And so I picked that back up, and I started playing Monster Hunter Generations again. And all I can say right now is that I can't wait for them to bring that over to the Switch. I know that they have Double Cross in Japan right now, Monster Hunter Generations Double Cross, but I don't know if they're going to localize that for the West. But if they do, I think it might be a little too late because of the impact the Switch is having. Nintendo's still trying to say and promote the 3DS, like it's got a healthy life ahead of it, but I'm not so sure about that. We'll see how well the Switch takes off, because I'm hoping, I don't think they'll be able to port all the 3DS games they have in development. Like Ever Oasis is a game they announced at a Direct last year, or last year, or in the new year, right? They announced Ever Oasis, and it's kind of been radio silence. So either they're transferring that to be a Switch game, or they still think they're going to make their deadline, as well as the new Pikmin 3DS game that they announced, which also has been radio silence. So I don't know what's going to happen with all of that, or the 3DS, but all I can tell you is that I am glad that I went back to my 3DS, because that damn Monster Hunter, it's a pretty good game. And then also on the Monster Hunter tip, I'm not even going to mention it, but basically Dauntless is like a Monster Hunter type game for the PC. It's free to play. It's not out yet, but they're opening up a invite-only alpha. And so they're probably already done with sign-ups. I signed up, but I don't think my computer can handle it, actually. It's like at the bare minimum of specs required to play it. So I'm hoping that's a good game. I'm hoping they have controller support so I can use my Xbox One controller. And we'll see how that pans out. And then, hopefully when that thing goes to open beta in like a couple of months, maybe minimum like 5-6, then everybody can try it, and then it'll just be like out there. Because I don't know. The Monster Hunter formula is pretty good and addicting, so I hope more people get to try it through Dauntless, and then it'll send them over to the Switch or the 3DS, wherever the next iteration comes out. And then I wrote a fourth topic, but it's not even a topic. It was just that they dropped the trailer for the new It movie, and I'm digging it. I like it. It looks scary, but it doesn't look like the scary that I remember the movie being, the TV movie back in the day. I feel like It, as the book, I've never read the book, I've only seen the TV movie, but I feel like the premise is more heady, and that it's more of like a reflective look of these kids facing their own realistic inner demons, and that the creature, is just a manifestation of that. Now, obviously, in the book and in the movie, they explain him as just like a demon that perpetuates through time and preys on children. But it's one of those things. I feel like if you read the book, it's a big ass book. If anyone's ever seen it in like a half price or the library, then it's a pretty big ass book. But this is obviously one of the cases where the book is probably way better than any of the movies. But that's also why this new trailer kind of leans into that like shock horror, where he's like running at them through the sewer water. And like, I never got the impression that he was like that from the TV movie. And again, maybe they toned it down because in the 90s, shit was more PG, and so they were like, we can't scare the people to death. But it was a pretty scary movie, but a very different, like, scary. He wasn't about jump scares or nothing like that. He was more about preying on you, breaking down your mentality, and then striking when you were weak. And then he would either kill you or make you kill yourself. Kind of like a Freddy Krueger. I've been explaining him to my wife and to my coworker. And yeah, he's basically like a clown version of Freddy Krueger. But he doesn't prey on you in your sleep. It happens during the day. And that makes it scarier, with that damn balloon floating around. But yeah, other than that, I mean, if I really wanted to, I could vent about the day I'm having. The day's been good. It's been great. I've been spending it with my family. But just chicken shit and roommate stuff. And that's all I'm going to say. Because I have to vent somehow. But we'll see how that turns out too. Maybe next week something will happen. But alrighty, until then, everybody, thank you for listening to this week's episode. It wasn't as long as I thought. I thought it was going to be like an hour long. I haven't cut it together yet, but from the looks of the different times, it's going to be like 30 minutes. So we all lucked out. You don't get to hear an asshole talking forever. But alrighty, until next week, I will see you guys and gals later. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can get this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. And if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them at Unsaluted on Twitter. And until then, I will see you guys next week. Bye.